kickboxing when he was stationed in Germany as a member of the military.
Porter's corner wants him to step to the left and then punch, and he did it a moment ago, and it's been effective when he has done so.
Toney said he just spent time out of the ring almost these 2 years to try and get his head together, get himself together personally. He has been known, of course, as a man who's had a temperament and a temper problem. And I think all those battles with Wade adds to that. He was, of course, managed by Jackie Callan early in his career, and actually not just early, but through his championship days and up through his fight with Roy Jones Jr.
Toney starts to open up Terry Porter a little bit here. This could come down to a conditioning fight, though. Toney clearly the stronger of the two.
But Toney is really a guy who knows how to break down a fighter. I think the time that he fought Prince Charles Williams was just a great example of that. Prince Charles Williams was a good fighter, was in there almost at his best against Toney. They fought a grueling fight, and Toney, little by little, though, was breaking them down and finally got him and knocked him out in the last round, the 12th round.
Porter just covering up here. Toney doing all the work. Toney just a heavier-handed puncher than Porter.
He's a punishing hitter, Barry. Not a one-punch knockout puncher, but punishing. I mean, they thud and they add up.
Work, baby. Let's work. Gotta work. Come on. Let's go.
Porter still will get his share. Toney fights in spurts, and when he stops, Porter obliges by hitting him. End of the 4th round. We're coming back. We come to round number 5, Toney and Porter, and when Toney's working hard, he's being effective. When he relaxes, Porter pops him.
I still think Toney does enough to win every round. And again, he's working off a ring rust with every round that goes by. When he fought Roy Jones, he had had such a terrible ordeal in losing the weight. And it's not to say Jones might not have won the fight anyway, at the level that he was fighting. But really, Toney had nothing left when he got into the ring that night. He just had nothing against Jones.
Down in the corner of your screen, that is the fiancée of James Toney, and Jeanette Corelli, watching, needless to say, with a relaxed interest, thinking her man has this pretty well in control. High connect percentage for James Toney.
Come on. Where's your double? Where's your double, baby? Come on. Get with it. Get with it. You gotta get with it. Come on. That's it. That's what I want to get around the side. You can step one side or the other. Get with it.
And you made a point a little while ago about wearing an opponent down, and that's exactly what appears to be happening here.
Yeah, and Porter, I think, is feeling the effects of all those body punches, and he looks weary.
Porter laying on Toney a lot more than he was earlier. Toney just scoring at will. Every one of those punches is scored. Every one of those punches scored.
He's always been a very accurate guy, and he's looking to close the show right here, I think, Barry. And I think he's close to doing it.
He just has not missed a punch in this round. Again, 1, 2, both got there. And another left hand gets there.
James Toney in his career as champion, not only did he score that what was then a shocking upset knockout of Michael Nunn, but he defended against guys like Reggie Johnson, who's currently light heavyweight champion, Mike McCallum, a great fighter in his own right. Went on to beat, of course, Iran Barkley, as we mentioned. This guy's really fought and beaten most of the best.
Well, he has been tremendously effective in this round, and admittedly he's fighting a slowed down Terry Porter, but I'm not sure he missed more than 2 or 3 punches. We'll be back. We welcome you back. We come to the 6th round. Barry Tompkins, Rich Verrata. We're at the Celebrity Theater here in Phoenix, Arizona. Our first fight of the evening. It's in the cruiserweight division. The former middleweight, super middleweight champion James Toney against Terry Porter. And Toney right now really starting to wear his man down. Tremendously effective round in the 5th round, and it's seeming, Rich, that this is just a question of time.
It would appear that way, but Porter to me was wearing down badly at the end of that last round, and I watched his legs seemed a little bit shaky as he went back to his corner at the end of the round.
Toney again just simply not missing any punches. Porter really unable to do much now. He's laying in on Toney a lot.
Hoping to just catch him with a quick flurry of punches if he can, Barry.
Crowd trying to support Terry Porter, but Terry right now really looking the part of a beaten fighter.
Terry will need after this fight is another bout with Gary Dirk.
That's right, exactly. Just to lift his spirits. And Toney playing possum a little bit here. Good left hand again and a double right hand. Look at that effectiveness. Porter says, come on. Toney obliges him.
At the lighter weights, of course, his opponents would have fallen by now.
Got there with the left hand.
Although he's still punishing, he won't carry the same power now at this weight that he did at 168. I think a great weight for James Toney would have been 175, Bill.
There was a left hand by Porter right at the top of the head of Toney, which did cause him to take a step back. But again, Toney will do this. Toney will just pretend like he's hurt and then come with a flurry.
Come on, baby. There you go. That's it. You want it now. Come on, baby. That's it. Lighten him up.
Porter, though,
Lighten him up. Let's go.
out there with another left hand.
Get down. Bump him back. Shoulder. Don't let him off. Step around. Come on, baby. Throw it. That's it. Throw it. Do it again.
Toney tried to get Porter out of there, couldn't do it. Now just kind of laying on the ropes. And there he opens up with the right hand. So the end of 6 rounds, and we'll remind you, of course, that still to come, our main event. Wolf Graham and Gerard Jones, they're going 10 rounds in the heavyweight division. Wolf Graham, of course, down to 289 pounds, never had fought below 300, either as a professional or as an amateur. He feels he's ready. He really feels this is the dawning. His wife, Vanessa, in the crowd as always. Now, she'll be in the crowd now, but when they tee it up, Vanessa will be out somewhere in the wings. She can't stand to watch her husband fight. She'll get reports from people who will run in and out and kind of give her an update on how things are going, but she just can't stand there and watch it herself.
Well, Wolf Graham, you mentioned 300, under 300. He's never fought under 315, which is where we saw him his last fight against Jorge Luis Gonzalez.
Shoulders, all right? He's got a little bit lower and start rolling those shoulders. You hear me? Come on, son. Let's get
Well, James Toney doing what he needs to do. This fight has not much been in doubt since the first round when Toney dropped Porter. I'm sure in his corner, too, they're saying, go ahead, get him out of there. Let's finish this thing. Let's go home.
Well, it's okay now, but in the long run, he gets a lot more out of going some rounds here, Barry, than he does if Porter hadn't have gotten up from that first round knockdown, that right hand that put him on the canvas in the first round, and it would have been a one-round blowout for James Toney. Really, what value would there have been in that, other than actually just climbing into the ring and getting the feeling at least of a fight? But here, at least, he's in a fight, and he's been forced to work, and he's throwing a lot of punches, and been hit a few times. So this will work to his advantage in the long run.
Set that punch up, throw it. Let's go. That's it. Shoot him in there. Shoot him.
Well, Toney being every bit the cute fighter, and I don't mean that necessarily as a derogatory term. I think I probably would have always described him as a cute fighter.
Yeah, very clever. Knows a lot of tricks. And he will entice you into throwing certain punches or get you into angles so that you throw a certain way and so that he can punish you and make you pay for that mistake.
Come on. Come on, Kerry. Come on, Kerry. Get the body, Kerry. That's it. Go to the body.
Toney, as you said earlier, still with very quick hands despite the weight.
Let's go, Kerry. That's it. Right there. Right there. That's it. Right there. Under and up.
Terry Porter seems to have slowed down maybe even another step here in this round.
There had been some talk before that Larry Holmes and George Foreman situation, an ultimate fiasco, that James Toney was going to fight Larry Holmes in a comeback fight.
An interesting matchup. Two old foxes.
Work the body, man. We're not working the body. Come on. Move your hands, man. That's the way you win. That's it. Move your hands.
Interesting that Porter prefers an inside fight, Barry. I just don't think it works to his advantage. He's for more long arm. I would have tried to take advantage if I could have. Reach.
Come on. Come on. Don't wait on him to score.
I think you make a good point, though, that all his opponents, that is all of Toney's opponents, at this weight are not going to be the size of Terry Porter. He's going to get in there with some guys who have a distinct reach advantage who will try to stick and move on him, and that could give him a problem.
Yeah, they list Porter as 6'1". I think he's somewhat less than that.
Yeah, he doesn't look a whole lot taller than Toney. Toney at 5'9". It's not to say there haven't been some pretty good light heavyweights and cruiserweights that have been of that 5'8", 5'9", 5'10". It's not out of the question. Toney again, just kind of driving the bus.
Hey, buddy. Yeah. How come you're...
We welcome you back. Round number 8 upcoming. A little problem with the ropes, as you see right in the foreground there. Look at that gap between the second and third ropes. And that, especially in a fight like this, where the fighters have had their backs to the ropes on numerous occasions, probably a good idea for the referee to notice that.
It's almost like the old days when they had the 3 strands instead of the 4 as they do now, to prevent that kind of problem.
And the fight, of course, more of same as Toney doing pretty much what he wants at close range with Terry Porter, backhanded him there. Referee taking a very close look at Porter here.
See that shoulder of Toney, how he's moving it into defensive posture? That left shoulder is what we talked about. A lot of times when he takes a punch right there, he just wings a right hand right after, shifting his body side to side.
Porter really looking like a beaten fighter right at the moment. Pretty blood from the nose and general swelling around his face.
Very little jabbing from Toney tonight. He hasn't had to follow a jab in to get close to his opponent, Barry, which he will against other heavyweights probably. He's not going to just be able to walk into a heavyweight and get close to him, or have heavyweights who are willing to go chest to chest with him.
Let him up, break.
You see, he just walks in. He hasn't had to use that jab at all.
Okay, let him up, break.
Good idea probably to